you down with OTC? OTC.
Whoa, holy cow. Didn't expect that. Did not expect that in the least. We were going to go at least 2 more minutes. We're actually streaming live. I hit the wrong button. I didn't even straighten out my collar over here. Hey, this is Jeff. You guys are here on the HODL Review, exclusively on the chain. We are going to talk about smart money, not stupid money, smart money. What is smart money? Well, we're going to get into XRP, BTC. We're going to look at how the lines between banks and exchanges are beginning to blur. We talk about that a lot on this channel, how banks and exchanges, those lines, it's now like, what is what? Is it a bank? Is it an exchange? Are they holding our digital asset? Are they talking about digital money? What is going on? And we got to talk a little bit about regulations. Why? Because without regulation, crazy things are going to happen. So we know that we need regulation. We know that this space is heating up, but what is it all about? And guess what? There was an announcement. I pulled this up. It might have happened a couple days ago. I saw this yesterday. The first digital asset exchange based out of Singapore actually goes IPO. What is up? What is up with an IPO currently valued around $5? We're going to take a look at that. We also want to we want to get into this whole idea of smart money. We want to talk about some of the things that Ripple has been doing with credit. People are like, oh my God, this is like blowing people's minds, with this credit. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it ends a little bit of the confusion in this whole ODL space. Oh my God, there's like, I'm like looking through all this stuff. There's so many things to go through, and we're going to start now. I'm just enjoying a cup of coffee here, reading the comments. Oh, I guess we got to talk too. Death Wish. If you guys haven't tried this one, this is probably one of my favorite. Oh my God. Death Wish coffee. It's strong. It's going to kick you right in the ass. But this one is like the coffee beans when you start grinding them, it's got a little bit of that nice oil to it, and the aromas are like amazing. But this it's called Death Wish. You can check it out over on Amazon. I highly recommend it. One day we're actually going to go through the whole process from grinding through brewing, and we're going to see what it's really all about when we're drinking this espresso, making the espresso, because we know that in order to get up early in the morning and talk about digital asset, you need a little kick. And when you get the Death Wish espresso, you're good to go. Yo, what is up, David D? That's probably true. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to the Death Wish coffee. If you invest in XRP, I think you actually have a death wish. That's hilarious. That is funny. I wanted to say what's up to some of the people that are popping in here. We have people that are on YouTube, and we have people that are watching us over on Twitter. So we haven't been shadow banned over on Twitter yet. Can't say the same thing as far as what happened last week when we got yanked off of the air for no apparent reason, like right mid. I just got started, then boom, all of a sudden. What is up, Johnny Nguyen? Good to see you. We got Michael Otto all the way in from the UK. David D, possibly all the way in from the UK. Then here we have over on Twitter, we have I Kinda Pawn. Let's see who else just bounced in. We got someone in here from Texas. Clint Satchel in from Texas. This is great. So we're off to a good start. I'm sure more people are going to join us from all over the world because we have people from all parts of the world with us, and that's outstanding. So where should we start? I think we want to get into, we want to talk about smart money. We want to figure out what this is really all about. So I think that this is going to be a good place to start. But I got, before we get into this, I got to bring this up. I want to share my screen on this one because it's a little disconcerting, with YouTube. Don't want to put us into a spot here. But I noticed some of the things that happen. I'm seeing it right now. Maybe based on our view count. But I noticed that YouTube is somehow attacking our channel, and maybe talking about it isn't going to help when I'm just starting out talking about all these important things in this space. But I saw this come up again, this live news. Look at this, 196,000 subscribers. These videos keep popping up, extremely damaging to this space. This site here has one video. That's it. Or this YouTube channel, one video. And it pops up. It was streaming for 2 hours when I pulled this up. I haven't refreshed. 95,000 people watching, 196,000 subs. 5,000 BTC giveaway. Why isn't YouTube stopping this? It's just driving me absolutely crazy that they're letting this stuff continue to happen. And yet, here we are. I'm looking at our view counts, and our view counts keep getting stifled. Sometimes, we're not showing up. Other times they're yanking. It's just crazy. It's absolutely, getting to a point where it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating, that YouTube is creating a little bit of havoc and turmoil in this digital asset space. The lemon tree is fake. It's not a real lemon tree. But I kind of pawn coming in from Twitter over there. They must make a good amount of money off of this. They're being sued, yet it still goes on. Exactly. So it's just insane. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But let's get into this. We want to talk about. Oh, look at this. Let's see how what happens. We talk about this and see if anything happens. But Alphabet, complicit in having crimes committed against viewers, should be easily handled with a trusted enforcement group. I agree, because this space, what we're trying to offer, what we're trying to do, especially when we start talking about digital asset, we want to provide, good quality information over here. We want to have good quality dialogue. The last thing that we want to see have happen is that, we have channels like that, we got hype, and we got all this other stuff going on. And then it's hard to navigate and figure out, fact to fiction. And we like to look at it from a factual perspective, especially, we're looking at digital asset. We want to look at the growth in the space, anything that, that I bring it, I'm going to go through, do as much research as I can. Then we're going to talk about it. We don't want to, create some sort of, fictional hype. So, but anyhow, let's start with this digital asset exchange, this blurring of the lines, between banks and exchanges, because this is important. This is where everything's going. When we see a digital asset exchange actually start to move in the right direction. Let me see, which one is it? Here we go. Let's pull this guy up here. So check this out. Diginex announced the divestment of Diginex Solutions, this one. So they're separating away. But what's most important, is that you have, let's go into this Diginex, because you have the Equus, introducing Equus, the cryptocurrency exchange for the real world, another exchange. So Diginex, but they just went IPO. And we're going to look at that a little bit. And it's significant when we're talking about smart money. Before we get into Ripple, before we get into regulation, before we get into all this other stuff, it's going to be critical that we get a little bit of an understanding of what's going on in the, over here. So, and this is an exchange based out of Singapore, IPO'd on NASDAQ. So what is this all about? When you have custody, you have their asset managements, they're attacking capital markets, exchange and trading. So here, let's see. Here we go. Okay, the first full digital asset ecosystem listed. Why this one though? Why was this one the first mover to go to NASDAQ? I don't understand it. It's based out of Singapore. Yeah, I mean, I really don't understand why we didn't see a US based exchange as the first to IPO. I mean, that to me, honestly, makes zero sense that we have this company. I never heard of them until I read this article. I don't know if you guys heard of this one, this DigiNex. Nothing. Never heard anything of it. But this company, obviously, they're moving. They have an objective. Here we go. So here's where they list and they begin trading on NASDAQ October 1. So maybe it wasn't a true IPO. It was more of a listing. So what? But it's crazy, right? So here you go. You have I pulled this one up. We'll go look at it here for a second. Let's see if they raised $50 million doing this launch. That's some significant money, for a build out. Yet I don't even know if this exchange is available for U.S. use. We got Singaporean offices, office numbers, and everything, but yet they're traded on NASDAQ. So there you go. How that's what you get. So, all right, let's migrate here. And here's a comment here from I kind of pawn. The U.S. is falling behind, and I have to agree with that. But at the same point, yes, the U.S. is slipping behind in this whole space. Part of this space that we're seeing run forward, especially over in China, as an example, with what they're doing with their exchanges. They're rolling out, it's more of a centralized version of a digital asset, whereas the U.S., we're not really seeing a digital currency yet. We're not seeing the digital dollar. We're seeing some discussion of it, but really hasn't moved. They really haven't moved the needle. But in the U.S., what's most critical, as we're starting to see in other parts of the world, is regulation. Now, regulation, and there's little bits of things to look at, and we're going to look at one specifically of where we're going. Why I feel a little bit more confident, but I agree, the U.S. is lagging. There's a lot of foot dragging in Congress, but for the most part, this is how things work. There's delays. Passing bills through Congress can be really slow, and so maybe some of it's purposeful. Some of it is probably through ignorance. So let's see. Ripple seems to be launching a full-on assault to provoke. I agree 100% that that's definitely the case. And they have been, and they've even hired some of the people that were, instrumental in the first stages of the Token Taxonomy Act. So, Mike, yeah, I agree 100%. Ripple is probably the only one that's taking a proactive approach. There's some other organizations, but as far as a company that's involved in the digital asset space, I believe that Ripple is probably the only one that has a full-blown regulation, a committee on regulation, a full-blown initiative to moving positive regulation into the U.S. And I think they just made a statement, hey, if this doesn't happen, we want to move our offices someplace else. And I think that's definitely, legit to bring that up. Mossad saying, check this out. Central banks unveil framework plans for hybrid digital currency. Yeah. And they're starting to see where they're going to run in parallel to each other. So the question then becomes, their digital currency, their CBDC, being more of a centralized, siloed based sovereign currency. It's their sovereign digital currency, not necessarily functioning in the blockchain space, not a true, digital asset as we would, apply it to, an XRP, BTC, etc. But we have to understand that these governments, central banks will, when they roll out their digital currency, or they roll out their central bank digital currency, their CBDC, they're going to want control over it. It's going to be centralized, and they want to maintain it in the silo, which is important to see development in other parts, in other parts of the industry, which is one of the reasons why, we're drawn back to talking about Ripple so much, is primarily because, Ripple is the one company that's providing, that interoperability. And now they've done some things lately that have blown people's minds. pro and con, because some people are talking about this change in navigation of direction and maybe a lack of identity. But in fact, we're going to see, and we're going to go through that here in a minute, that a lot of it could be very purposeful for the positive. Let's see. David D is saying Christine Lagarde's comments in Paris this week were telling. However, it will be 2 to 3 years before we see governments opening up. That's possibly the case, because a government isn't necessarily, nobody's diving into this thing. This is, even though it's 8-10 years, there's still a lot of concern from a government perspective. If we think about it, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that we're never privy to. The media is never privy to. So we're not going to know specifically, where they are from a regulation conversation. We know there's discussion until a bill hits the floor, then we don't know what's going on. But we have seen, like in the US, inklings like through the OCC, where they're allowing banks to custody, or federal banks to custody a digital asset. Then they also passed an acknowledgement that that the federal banks, the central banks, can also then hold the reserve that that's tied to these stable coins. And so when we start looking at it from that perspective, banks need to get into this, right? So banks move very slowly. Governments move very slowly. If a government moved fast, then we'd be in trouble. We don't want our governments just to jump at the first dime of something, and then all of a sudden, you're left holding the bag when everything falls apart. You got to navigate it the right way, and then there's a lot of infrastructure to build out in order to adapt to this new movement. Now, the primary discussion, I think, my opinion anyways, from a regulatory perspective, is losing sovereign control over your currency. I think that's number one on every country's mind. Now, we saw it like within Europe as an example, when they transitioned to move over to the euro. It's not an exact example, but countries that moved over to the euro in the EU lost control of their own internal sovereign currency because everybody moved over to the euro. Now, why was it that the UK decided that we're not moving over to the euro? Yet they were part of the EU, but they maintained their currency. That was because they understood from their perspective that they didn't want to lose sovereign control over their financial stability, over their own currency. They feel if you give up that, then you're giving up everything. And one of the things that you definitely saw, like within the EU, is that now each member country becomes subject to all the other member countries. And that was concerning for the UK. So now, if you look at it from that perspective, why is it that countries want to maintain their sovereignty over their own currency? It makes sense. So they have to, navigate this the right way. Yet we're seeing, like down in the Bahamas, they're rolling out the sand dollar, which is a blockchain-based digital asset for their currency. So that's interesting, that we're seeing that kind of momentum in that space. Now, as all of this is going on and things are being tested and identified and figured out, yes, we're starting to see other countries, from an appearance perspective, gaining bigger momentum, in the money space. So one of the things that, again, if we look at what China's doing through their Belt and Road Initiative, I think it's really important because that's about regional, economic dominance. Over here we don't have, we haven't seen, any kind of tie-in yet, because we're not looking for regional dominance. We're looking for regional influence, as they are in that region. But you see the partnerships, trade agreements, like through the USMCA. But that kind of sidetracks. But I think all of these elements are really, really important when we start looking at, why hasn't the needle for regulation moved forward yet? So Masad, you should be an advisor to the OCC. That would be great. I think they need me over there. They're not thinking straight. So here we go. Johnny, I have a lot of stuff I want to say to you. Oh, what? I don't know what's going on over there. Okay. I missed that. But yeah, appreciate this. David, yeah, hit the, you know what? I forgot to mention that, but definitely hit the thumbs up. If you're brand new to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you want to tweet it out, that would be great too. Tweet it out there and see what we get. David D on the chain live is one of the best sources of accurate information and thought leadership in our space. Thanks, Chip and Jeff, for not pandering for money like typical YouTubers. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm just scrolling. Okay. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. I saw that go through, Jeff. I think everything, it's all in plan behind the scene. They're just BSing. That's Johnny Nguyen. Yeah, there's definitely, things like that. Yeah, iSpawn, we are on Cinnamon. And actually we started rolling out some exclusive content over there that we don't have over here. But we're going to start feeding more and more info over to Cinnamon. And Cinnamon actually dropped a new app recently. There's still some things they got to do to tweak it, but there's going to be some shorts and some other technology within that we're going to like to check out. So, all right, let me get rid of what I had up on the screen here. DigiNext, forget about looking at their stock. Their stock is at $5.22, down 9% since it launched. So, whatever. Let me see. When did it launch? What day was it? 1 day ago. It launched at $10. Typical for a rollout. Launches high because people were involved. Initially, got the early low buy-in, pumped it when it launched, and then it pulled back probably closer to value. So it's about half value. It launched at $10. Oh no, you know what? I'm wrong about this. Is this possible that it was on the NASDAQ all this time, or am I just wrong about this? Am I late to the game on this whole discussion? Headquarters, Hong Kong. Oh, that's DigiNext. Summary. There's their stock. I don't know. But anyhow, that was interesting. So let's go into this one. I want to go over to Ripple. I think that this is a critical, crucial segue right now. Oh, that's right. Look at that. The healthiest, best lemon tree anywhere. It's the last remaining lemon tree. So, and a great sofa for hanging out on over there. So, all right, let's dip back over here. Okay, Ripple. So here's it was interesting reading through a lot of the comments on Twitter when we see Ripple rolling out and making some changes. There are a couple of changes that kind of came a little bit fast. One of them is that they had a rebranding. I talked about that on a video. They came out with Ripple X. They came out with Ripple Impact. Their Ripple X, they moved from Spring or X Spring over to Ripple X. They're getting a little bit more energetic in their branding, a little bit more exciting in their branding. Like Ripple X is bold. Ripple Impact is their kind of it's more of, I don't know if it's a full nonprofit, but it looks like they're doing, a donation, outreach, those types of things through Ripple Impact to get the message out there. And so that had a different name. Now it's Ripple Impact. They're doing things behind the scenes to continuously grow and develop. One of the things that from my perspective, that is really, a big deal, other than just ODL, because I believe that, when they decided to roll out the rebranding of ODL, on-demand liquidity, that is their game changer, in the entire industry, because nobody else really has a fully interoperable solution, and at the same time offering fast, transparent settlement. And so when we're looking at it from an ODL perspective, their on-demand liquidity, their objective there was to have that instant settlement, to have money quickly available. And so, so that ODL was interesting, and so from my perspective, I looked at ODL, I said, hey, this makes sense, but in my mind, there was still a missing element, right? And that missing link was, if we're moving money over to an exchange, let's say you're a bank and you're foregoing your Nostro Vostro accounts over in another country, but you still need to move money over to Bank B. We're going through the rails. We got to go to an exchange. The exchange was holding the digital asset. This then becomes your ODL, your on-demand liquidity. That's their solution. But you're moving, but to move your fiat currency over to that exchange, you're still using a legacy fiat solution. So the bank, although they're still transacting domestically, through an ACH or a bank wire to get it over to that exchange. Well, once it hits the exchange, then the magic happens. Now, the thing was, in that point in time with that ODL, the on-demand liquidity, is that, Bank A and Bank B have full visibility that there's money involved. But Bank A, as they're sending their money over through this exchange partner of that's part of RippleNet, then the XRP is should be then transitioning or transacting the flow, but yet there's still no clear settlement between Bank A and the exchange, and so you're looking at all of these little elements, and yet there's still some legacy solution that's built in, unless I'm completely off base about it. But then I look at it and I say, well, in order for there to be a clear, full, completed transaction settlement, there needs to be, someone has to be carrying the debt load for that period of time. Now, if Bank A is no longer carrying their debt load because they moved their money, but Bank B is now receiving money, who's holding the bag? And so that was, to me, the biggest element, is that someone's holding the bag, whether it's 24 hours or 72 hours, someone's holding that bag, and it's not the banks at that point. So in steps Ripple again, and this to me is really, a major shift in the right direction for all of this, magic, so to speak, to happen between these big financial institutions. And so if we look at it, from, the Ripple perspective, again, think about, the ODL as part of RippleNet is their overall technology. It's their overall solution. The RippleNet is, if you strip away XRP out of it, if you strip away ODL, all it is a messaging platform that's competing with Swift. But they do things a little bit better because they're using the XRP ledger to move the information. So it's transparent. Swift is not just legacy, but it's from like 1974. So you're talking about a technology that's so old, even though they've updated so many of the computer platforms that are communicating through this whole process in the banking space are also outdated and old. So if you're looking at RippleNet just purely from, a game-changing perspective in the payments space, forget about XRP for a minute. But if you look at it from a company perspective, taking on Swift, it's exciting to look at that because that's interesting. They're unseating, one of the oldest solutions that brought all banks together to have a seamless communication process when moving money. Now here comes again RippleNet, and they have a better solution. It's better. Is it so much better that banks are going to just jump ship from Swift and say, hey, that's so much better, I love it, my customers get transparency now, whereas before they had no transparency? That's awesome. Is that enough for them to jump? We've seen lots and lots of customers so far, big bank groups, moving over to RippleNet because that was a big deal, but it was really the idea and promise of so much more. So if you look at, what is RippleNet bringing? Again, the RippleNet bringing that messaging solution. The game changer was the ODL, the on-demand liquidity, the settlement. So Swift isn't a settlement solution. Swift is just the messaging part of it. The settlement happens through either a third party mechanism or through the Nostro Vostro accounts. So that's so that's how the transition works, and normally it's very slow. And so that's why we all go back and say, well, in the legacy world of Swift payments, they're not Swift. They could be 3 to 5 days. And the documentation, if you're off by something and something gets screwed up, then the payment gets kicked back. If there's a bank error or a human error, the payment gets kicked back. The problem is that it delays the transaction, and the money that was allocated from your account by the bank doesn't automatically go back to your account immediately. It takes time. So there's a lot of disruption in the business world moving money. And we've talked about that. You guys know that. But so that's where RippleNet was the game changer, because it allows for the seamless transaction of that information, and it's transparent and it's easy and it's fast. They introduced the ODL, the on-demand liquidity, which is a game changer, because now we're talking about 3 to 4 second transaction time. You're talking about low cost. So it's basically like it's not free, but think about it. It's cheap. Free transaction, movement of money. But now this is such a big element. Now you can't say that Ripple wasn't thinking about these types of things before. Because ODL, in order to work properly, has to use XRP. If they take out the XRP element, then the ODL, it doesn't have the same value. It doesn't have the same excitement. Could they input another digital asset? They probably could, but it's not built on the XRP ledger. It's the XRP ledger that has so much technology built into it that facilitates this payment transaction. That's the game changer, and so now there's this big element that's been missing. And what's that big element? Credit. So credit is send now, money gets transferred immediately, right? That's it. It goes through the XRPL, but in order for there to be credit, and there's a small payment cost, that small payment cost still might be less. But let's say you have you need to move money, and so the bank is going to move $1 million. So you get it. There's still like a fiat transaction. So someone was, again, going back to the beginning of the conversation, someone was holding the bag, and the way they had it set up, the exchange was holding the bag for like 3 to 5 days based on settlement, because they needed full settlement. But now RippleNet's saying, hey, well, now you could get a line of credit with us, and the line of credit is going to be held in an XRP. Oh, wait a minute, we can use XRP and assign credit. And now credit, just like a credit card, think about a bank with a big credit card, and they say, hey, I need to move $1 million, and Ripple says, great, boom, move, done. Okay, what's next? That's easy. Okay, when are you going to pay it back? Well, Ripple, I'm going to pay you back in 3 days. All right, it's going to cost you whatever. Okay, that's awesome. And so this is, it's a great solution, because it's freeing up, look at this, freeing up capital for your customers. Cross-border transactions can be inefficient. At the same time, creating credit arrangements for each destination is time consuming. Exactly. Could you imagine what it means? Bank B on the other side is like, well, I need to move my money, but you got to give me some time to move my money. And so it's working on both sides. It's like, I'm going to make this transaction happen, but it's still going to take 3 to 5 days for me to get the money over there. It's going to take me a week. I need some help here. Let's get it, but we need to do it right now. All right, well, there you go again. It's seamless. They get their credit. Whatever the cost is, we have to dig in. Boom, it moves, and it's instant. So that's why I think when we're starting to see things from a behind the scenes perspective, there's so much that's going on. Sorry, I'm not in the chat here. I'm on a different screen. I need to use a second monitor, but look at this. You have, it's valuable. Improve your working capital, efficient, start payments without having to manage your account balance. How great is that? I don't know. We haven't moved money yet. Okay, that's fine. Boom, you sent $1 million, and now they're offering up that credit. The credit now they have. What is Ripple sitting on? They're sitting on what? 45 billion XRP. I mean, think about putting that to use. Obviously it's in escrow. They take it out of escrow. They roll that whatever, $1 billion per month into a credit arrangement. Whatever's not used, they put back. And then it keeps flowing. Within this solution. But this is amazing. Competitive rates. Now, when we talked about the blurring of lines between banks and digital asset exchanges or companies like this, what is Ripple doing? They're a bank for the banks and the financial institutions at this point. They're making that next big step forward. So that's what, I look at that. I'm like, man, that's impressive. That's really impressive. So, I like this. You can just go right on their website and check it all out. You can dig in even further. I thought that was interesting. Anyhow. So what do you guys think? Let me look at where you guys are on this technology. I like that. People need to stop listening to hype YouTubers. The difference between possible and probable must be recognized. Man, David, that's awesome. That's a great statement. Possible and probable are key. And you're right. So man, there's so much wishful thinking that goes on. Oh, who said that? Oh, you said that. Look at you even said that. I could be wrong, but I think that's very wishful thinking where the Flare come up with the money. I just saw the wishful thinking part. Let's see what here. Flare might be worth more than XRP in their smart contract. There's a lot going on. I mean, it's so, yeah, David, I mean, you're definitely onto something. Here we go. What do you think of the promotions of Ashish Burla and Monica Long and how they might impact Ripple XRP? What will we learn at Swell this week? Well, being that I was not invited to Swell, I have no idea. I think transition is positive. Monica Long's taking over Ripple X. The Ripple X initiative is critical to the growth in the space. So if we look at what Spring was doing, Spring was that outreach initiative. I believe that it's needed. I think it's needed that you start seeing some movement. You start taking advantage of people's abilities. And again, the shuffle isn't a big deal because we're starting to see growth and development. One thing that Ripple is hiring for right now overseas. They want to hire more engineers overseas to work on the development of more rails in different parts of the world. I think in order to make that happen, what's the one thing that Ripple needs? That Ripple needs more partners. Ripple needs more development in the space. So I look at it from that perspective. What's up, Code Scraper? I look at it from this perspective that as you're developing, and the one thing that keeps drawing me back to talking about Ripple, and there's so many digital assets. There's obviously you have the Ethereum, you have the Bitcoin, you have VeChain, you have the DeFi space. I mean, there's so many places from an investment or trading perspective that you can put your digital asset, whether short term or long term, or and you could benefit. I'm not gonna, I don't really knock any of them unless there's some fraudulent or where it gets a little scary. So I look at like over in the DeFi space, and I got a little nervous, and I talked about it. I made a video about it, and I said this DeFi, the Wi-Fi, just jumped up to like $29,000 overnight. The next morning, it was 33,000. It hit an all-time high of 43,000 in a short period of time. So what did we see in the space? And it's where, is it good? Is it bad? But we saw this ramp up of that Wi-Fi so rapidly. And when you see even a stock, when a stock is going like this, and then it goes like this, and it's not like trending up little by little, that's good. You see that growth in the space. It's building stability. It's building a solid base, unless there's negative news and it can drop off. But when you see something go like this, and then it goes like this, when it hits that top, the other side of the cliff is scary, because you don't know how far that cliff is going to go. And so what did we see with Wi-Fi? And I think it's relevant, because when we're looking at it, we need to look at projects that are that are solid, and it's hard to identify. Now, we need to also differentiate XRP from the company Ripple, but we know XRP, the XRP ledger, we kind of see the direction things are moving in, the adoption, the ODL, what needs to be done. Johnny brings up, Flare, what's going to be happening over there. That is also a critical element. So there's a couple critical elements. I'll touch on those in a second, that are offered from Ripple or Ripple partner, that are necessary to the next stage in development, with or without regulation. But if you look at this, at the Wi-Fi, again, went up, it went down 67%. 67% down to $13,000 or below. So who bought the bags at 43,000 and who rode it over the edge all the way down to 13,000? That's what I want to know, because with every one of these big migrations up, there's people buying all the way up on the transition. Just like with that DigiNex, when they launched on the exchange, and they launched at $10. And again, I was looking at the stock, it looked like they might have launched back in April, but I'll have to go back and double check. But let me look real quick. I gotta solve this. I want to see when this article is from. I thought it was from like 2 days ago. It was like 2 days ago. Anyhow, but a lot of times you'll see that IPO or the launch, and you'll see it comes out, that first listing is here, and then all of a sudden you see a tank. It closes low down so many times on launch day. And the reason is because when it opens at $10, there's all those accredited buyers, all those people ahead of time that get in before launch day. They're buying in at 5. It opens at 10. They're selling their bags at 10. And as soon as that sale transaction start happening, then the stock goes down. And those retail buyers that came in at 10 are now holding the bags when it drops down to 5. And now we're starting to see the exact same thing in the decentralized space, lacking a little bit of regulatory clarity. When we saw Wi-Fi go up like this and go down 67%, that's a little scary to me. And being that it's decentralized, there's really, who do you go after? If you say, hey, I feel like I didn't, what happened? And so we start looking at projects that are going to be, that are going to be critical over the long term, that have sustainability. Bitcoin is an example. Bitcoin seems to have sustainability. First mover advantage. It's been around since 2010. It's been around 10 years. It's seen, if you look year over year, except for that little bump where it tested highs due to FOMO and media hype, where it hit the $20,000 and went back down and brought the rest of the market with it. But we didn't see the market crash to zero. But what we did see overall, because the length of time and the history of Bitcoin incrementally going up, and then it hit a spike, we saw that drop, but the drop ended up recovering, and then it kept going like that again, growing steadily, right? So we saw the dip, it hit like $3,000. I wish I would have stocked up on a shit ton if I, at 3,000, now that it's 11,000, but that's how it is. But that's Bitcoin. So, it has longevity regardless, XRP, you start seeing it has stability. Look how stable it is. It didn't go down to zero, but it has stability. Do we know where it's going? We have no idea where it's going. I don't think anyone knows. You can't predict the price. You can speculate. Like David D was saying, looking at probable, as the probability of an asset increasing, is different than it 100% will, possible, if it's possible or if it's probable. I think that's important, for us to identify and look at. But when we look at, again, we're looking at this Ripple project, complete separation from XRP, because if you keep looking at Ripple and saying, well, Ripple just did this, why is XRP still here? Well, if we're going to talk about it from that perspective, guess what? The regulators are also going to talk about it from that perspective and say, well, guess what, guys, that XRP is a security, because there's now expectation they're going to try to prove the case that Ripple then, has XRP distributed to the people, and the people have an expectation of an increase in valuation because of what Ripple's doing. So it's not, there's a disconnect, I guess. Johnny, yeah. All right, man. It was good seeing you on. We'll see you soon. Let me see here. David, there are three opinions. One is your personal opinion. Two is fact. Three is hype. Wishful thinking. But many don't have common sense in this generation. Johnny, appreciate that. That's great. Those are great. Personal opinion, fact, and hype, and somewhere in between is what you end up getting. So appreciate that, Johnny. So yeah, so it's crazy, right? So anyhow, we kind of got sidetracked into this whole thing, into this part of this conversation. But I believe, I think that that's kind of an important way to look at things. Now we look at this payment space, so everyone that's looking at says, hey, XRP is part of this payment space. It's part of a solution. It's part of ODL. It's now also part of this smart contract. So when I said there, Ripple is behind, and this is where the Ripple initiative through Ripple X becomes critical, because they want to develop this space. They want to develop the utility of the XRP ledger. They also want to push others to utilize the XRP solution vis-a-vis the ledger. Maybe start tapping into some of the other solutions that Ripple is offering. So if we look at it right now, right, you have RippleNet, which was important. You have in RippleNet, you have the ODL, which is the on-demand liquidity. Now you have the Ripple credit, which I believe was a very, very important element of the ODL that was left out in order to move people away from their Nostro Vostro accounts. You have to have you have to have that element. That was important. So the other critical element that was introduced that is rolling out is Flare, the smart contract. So Codius was a smart contract. I think they discontinued investing in Codius and then introduced Flare. Flare is doing smart contracts so far, from first observation, better than anybody else. And why is it better? Because it's interoperable, meaning that you have the Flare smart contract that works with the Ethereum smart contracts. Now, there's a lot that's already built in the Ethereum space. So the Ethereum solution has really made huge strides, huge progress, which is amazing. Again, one of those projects, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, VeChain, the list goes on and on. You kind of decide where you fit, where you want to invest, but there's a lot of investable projects because you see the growth, you see where everything's transitioning and moving, especially as you read the news and you start seeing like Ethereum, even with all the issues, they keep developing and moving in a certain direction. So Flare as a smart contract solution, my opinion, is better than the Ethereum because of the interoperability, meaning that it can function with an Ethereum smart contract. Now, if you have, one group A, that's built all of their solution, their software using an Ethereum smart contract, and you have group B that's working with a solution software that's using Flare as a smart contract. How do you get the two to work together? With Ethereum, they're going to say, no, look, you got to do ours. You got to work with our solution. And then Group B is like, well, listen, we're working with Flare. Our solution uses Flare. So now, guess what? We're interoperable. We can work together. Don't worry about it. We can work this out. It's going to be okay. So so that's kind of a game changer. So you have the smart contracts. You have the credit. The credit, again, my opinion, critical to the ODL. Without the credit, the ODL was functioning it was good, but it was it needed something else. And that's it. You get rid of Nostro Vostro accounts because you have credit. You pay a little bit extra, but guess what? I'm not keeping $1 million in Bank of England indefinitely, because now when I want to send money to Bank of England because I need to get something over there, now all of a sudden there's credit. So boom, hey, my bank just sent you $1 million. Guess what? From my perspective, the group that's working with the bank in the US, Bank of US, then now they're good because they just moved money, and it was instant. So so that to me is awesome. Here we go. Look at this. So David D says, it's like a Windows-like solution that works on both Mac and PC. That's exactly it. So it could also crash and burn. Who knows? Maybe it'll be, the worst thing ever, and we'll find out that the whole thing doesn't work. But, most likely, things are transitioning in a direction. Now, what's the one thing holding up smart contracts from being valuable? The one thing that's been holding up a smart contract from being 100% valuable is regulation from a legal perspective. So up until right now, you have a smart contract, it's not legally enforceable. So you have to have a side contract in order to maintain all of your terms to enforce the smart contract, because the signature, that digital signature on the smart contract, isn't enforceable. It's not legally binding. Not yet, So Chip, I don't think it works so well on the Mac. So where's this one? I got to pull this one up. Here we go. I'm looking for the bill. Here it is. All right. So this is where we talk about regulation. We talk about the US is dragging their ass. They're dragging their feet. They're not getting where we want to go. But little bits, right? Little bits. What does DNI talked a lot about? Incrementalism, being incremental steps. Chinese bamboo, what is up? So when we look at this incrementally, why is the screen so small? How do you, let me see. Ooh, look at that. Oh, haha. That's pretty cool. Oh, look at that. That. Hang on. There we go. Just playing around with that. All right. So if we look at this, HR 8524, this is the critical element of a smart contract being partially useful to being 100% on. This is it. This is the game changer. Everything changes from this point forward. When we talk about regulatory clarity, when we talk about making some adjustments within the digital asset space, the HR 8524, this bill is everything. And it was just introduced into Congress on October 2nd. So a week ago, this was introduced. It's sitting right now, referred to the House, to the Committee on Energy and Commerce. Now on, can we see rapid movement in Congress? Can we see them get off, their focus of doing negative things? They can. Congress is actually, with all the stuff going on that you see in the media, Congress is still doing their thing in their committees. Like this committee can take this bill and push it along and say, hey, and this is an easy bill. This is an easy one. It's the same, digital signature that occurs as a digital signature if you're using what's that digital signature? Whatever. There's a couple of them, but you guys know, DocuSign. So for a little while, there was some question a couple years ago whether or not DocuSign was legit. If I do a digital signature, can that be upheld in the court of law? And so the question remained: if I didn't personally sign it, then there was discussion, and then they said yes, it's acceptable. So your digital electronic signature is acceptable. Now look, what are they doing here? HR 8524 is going to amend the Electronic Signatures in Global and National Commerce Act. Amend it, not create a brand new one. They just want to amend it. And what do they want to they amend it with? Smart contracts created, stored, or secured on or through blockchain to provide uniform national standards regarding the legal effect, validity, and enforceability of such records, signatures, and contracts, and for other purposes. So it's simple. It's so easy. It's just an amendment. You just have to amend it. Now, when we look at this from that perspective, incremental change within Congress, they just passed a bill over to Senate a week ago, which was the consumer protection. It initially was like the AI, and then it was this blockchain, and there was this one, and then they passed something through Congress that was consumer protection. I forget the exact number and name, title, but it was relevant and it was important because from an incremental perspective, that was another win. That's another victory. They were saying they wanted to put a group together and they want to investigate and, whatever. But, that was important because now you're going to have a team that within 180 days, within 6 months, they have to report back with a solution and an answer when it comes to digital assets in the digital asset space with blockchain tech. They have to report back, and it's sitting in Senate. They report back. Now they have to come up with solution. Now there's a possibility that you get a token taxonomy act or something like it 6 months from now. So, well, 6 months proposed again, but at least we're moving in the right direction. Now with this one, again, this is a minor change, but it's everything. This is everything. If this one gets stalled out and they can't push through something so simple, because we're talking about a smart contract that Ripple is now rolling out, right? This is why it's so critical. They're backing the rollout of Flare, which is a smart contract platform. Ethereum is being embedded into so many different solutions. Others within the space are moving in the similar direction to embed smart contracts. So this is everything. If they fail to pass this, then we have issues. Now, we've got a few more months in this Congress, before we go into the 117th. But we have time. Who cares if you get elected in November? You still have some time. So this can speedily, rapidly, whatever, it could go through Congress. It could get through. It could be put to Senate. It could be signed. Boom, done. How difficult is it, right, to amend a digital signature in blockchain? That again, this is the basis of everything. Everything. Every other regulation, every other, if you have a smart contract in blockchain, becomes legally binding. That signature, and that's also something that we have to look at that has been holding back a lot of the other bills, because all of this exists in a digital space. Granted, the Token Taxonomy Act, was changing some of the security laws and how you can roll out some of these companies. But we've even seen, discussion on that, on how the companies are coming to the forefront. Not fast enough. Things need to happen. Stuff like this has to happen. And it has to happen yesterday. Something like this, the HR 8524 has to happen. Now let's look at the action real quick. Let's see where we're sitting action wise. Again, it's sitting in the Committee of Energy and Commerce. Let's look at we already know what it's for. Co-sponsors. Let's see who's sponsoring this. So we had David Schweikert from Arizona and his co-sponsor, Darren Soto, Rep. Soto in Florida. Now, Democrat, Darren Soto, Republican, David Schweikert. All that nonsense in the media that says Republicans and Democrats aren't working together is BS, complete BS. Why? Because stuff has to happen. If there was so much conflict and tension at the House level on every little thing, the country would have come to a standstill, years ago. These discussions, obviously the media is ramping, emotional tension. They're ramping it up. But at the end of the day, they have to go to work and do their thing. So here you have a Democrat and Republican get together, co-sponsor a bill. If the media was right, they couldn't sit in the same room together. It's BS. It's all nonsense, right? So here you have Darren Soto, who is the biggest name in the digital asset blockchain space on Capitol Hill, other than Warren Davidson out of Ohio, who's a Republican. Darren Soto gets it. He's in Orlando. He's on the forefront of making all these changes. So, we had somebody, earlier saying that, the U.S. is moving too slow, which it is. It's moving too slow. But yet you see Darren Soto for years now, these for 2 years. So 3 years has been on the forefront of moving bills through to Congress that are related to digital assets and blockchain, as has Warren Davidson. Now you have like this David Schweikert and Tom Emmer, Republican, and the list goes on and on. You have Democrats, Republicans, both sides that are fighting towards the same objective because they know, just like what was said, the U.S. is falling behind. They've said the U.S. can't fall behind. They see that. They understand that. So whatever the political differences are on the media, at the end of the day, the economy of the United States is at stake. And so when they look at it from a blockchain tech perspective, they're working together. They got to get it through, but yet there's roadblocks. There's roadblocks because of the lobbyists. There's roadblocks because of these congressional representatives that don't even know how to use a cell phone. And another roadblock within Congress is the mindset. So if you have an attorney who is focused on the law, and now you come and you try to talk him about economics, and he's now there, or she is there making economic decisions, but yet they went to school for law, and economics was never a course that they took. How do you expect them to make the right decisions when it comes to economic decisions? It makes no sense, right? So that's why it's so critical. It's so important when you have, external organizations like a Ripple that's providing the education and the information and the dialogue and looking for ways to bring positive solution to where Congress has to approve it. They have to pass their regulation. So Ripple's looking at it. ODL, they need credit. Credit has to be an option. Okay, government, look, we're now offering credit. We have our messaging solution. Yeah, it's like Swift. Now we have credit. We have on-demand liquidity. Hey, government, we're able to help the world, the US, whatever. We're able to help people move money rapidly, transparently, and guess what? We're protecting the consumer. We're protecting everybody's interest. We're taking all the middle people out, and we're able to make things happen. We're able to streamline business, and it can all be done in 4 seconds. Guess what, guys? You guys could be on the forefront of this. Well, we don't know, and is it legal? Whatever. Smart contracts. Hey, guys, we have a smart contract. Guess what? The smart contract is the terms and conditions of the transaction. Everything from point A to B to C, whatever, is embedded in this smart contract, and the movement of the money goes through the smart contract. Hey, that's awesome. What do you need to do? Well, now you have the bill. We need to make the smart contract legally enforceable. Now you have a package. So now all these elements start plugging in together. That's how I look at it. They have to understand it from all these different scenarios. The hot button on the Democrat side is always going to be consumer protection. They want to make sure that the consumer is not getting screwed. You want to look at and this is concerning for everybody, but this seems to always be their hot button. You look at like a DeFi in the decentralized space, the Wi-Fi. Were consumers' interests protected when it went up to 43,000 and went over the cliff down to 16,000, 13,000 and below? Were they protected? Is there a reason, for the government to look at the decentralized space and say, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know. I'm just saying, so all these different variables of how it needs to be approached. And then it's country to country to country. Every country is now looking at, how this is going to work, from a regulatory perspective. It's crazy, right? I mean, it's just, it's really, really, it's really interesting. Now, look at this. So this is, and I think this is like a culmination of everything we've talked about. What's up, Brady? Good to see you on. Check this out. Check this one out. Is it shared? It didn't share. There it is. Boom and boom. So, if you look at this article, I saw this come up. I'm like, oh, we got to talk about this, but if you look at this, Kyrgyzstan, people are like, I don't know where, I don't even know, can't even pronounce it, let alone know where it is. Most people, what is it? Kyrgyzstan. I don't know, it's out there. It's a country for real, but look at this. Kyrgyzstan central bank suspends SWIFT to prevent capital outflow. Now, I think this is important. The bank is shutting down the SWIFT network as protests rocked the country. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of people are concerned that in the digital asset space, which should be concerning, that as a government, they can more easily shut down their currency in an example like this. So, I mean, could you imagine where, and we could look around, there's countries right now that are creating their centralized digital currency and giving it out to people. Oh, we're going to give out 6 million of these digital Ys, and we want everyone to have a little bit of this digital Y. And we're making it look good because, hey, it's coming from us. And yes, we're a little bit communist, but hey, we're giving out the free money. But guess what? When we don't want you to spend it anymore, we're shutting it down. We're going to freeze it. We'll put a pause on your money. How about that? Giving a pause button to a government to pause your money. So right now you have your money in a bank. Can they pause that bank? They probably could. They could pass laws. It's happened in other countries. We saw banks like in Lebanon. We saw a big issue over in Lebanon with banks. This is legacy we're talking about. So they decided no more SWIFT. You're not going to use SWIFT in our country because we don't want any money going out. We want all money to stay in. That's stupid. What about money coming in? They're thinking about we need to prevent outflow. What about inflow? I mean, it's crazy, but they're using legacy. They're not using digital. They're not using a digital currency, and they shut it down. Now people can still get their money. They are going to have to find another way to do it. But hey, guess what? You shut that down. We're opening up over here on our digital asset exchange. I don't know if they can have them over there, but hey, I need to move money out. I'm moving it in Bitcoin. I'm moving it in XRP. I'm moving it in whatever. I'm still moving my money. You can shut down SWIFT all you want, but that's where it becomes concerning. That's where the transparency and the privacy of your own, you need your own sovereignty, right? As an individual, you need your own sovereignty over your money. You put it into a bank that's non-government bank. You put it into a private bank, big bank, let's say it was JP Morgan. Are you going to anticipate that a JP Morgan is going to freeze your assets? They probably won't, most likely. 99%, they're probably not going to. You go to this National Bank of Kyrgyz Republic, and now they're saying, hey, guess what? We're not allowing you to send money outside anymore. You know, I mean, it's interesting. Look at this. In order to ensure the safety of the country's financial and banking sector and to preserve assets of financial credit institutions, the National Bank of the Republic of Kyrgyzstan recommends that commercial banks and non-banking financial credit institutions suspend their work on the 7th, a couple days ago, and step up security measures until the political situation in the country stabilizes. So obviously they're having a little political issue. But now let's see what this says. This is exactly what I was saying. I didn't even read this part. Another example of the traditional banking system's imperfection in comparison to the crypto industry. In contrast to traditional banks, major cryptocurrencies like BTC do not have a central party to decide the fate. However, there should be a however there, because when you have a centralized currency, then guess what? What happens in a centralized environment world? Yeah, they have full control. So, man, I mean, it's really, really crazy, right? So, Ripple is going to be a global mega bank. They're moving in that direction. That's the point. You know, that's really the point, is that you're starting to see this blending of ideas between digital asset and banking. Right now, there are no banks that are in a position to fulfill the needs of a digital asset economy. They're not there. They don't have the infrastructure. So Ripple is building out the infrastructure, but there's not enough banks yet that are involved in this infrastructure. There's no central banks that are fully engaged in a central bank digital currency. The US, China, Europe, wherever, you know, everybody's in more of like this test mode. There's some big progress. Europe, there's big progress happening. The US, there still needs to be this, something needs to happen. There needs to be a better understanding from a legal perspective to make sure that the people aren't fleeced, to make sure that the companies aren't fleeced, to make sure that these new banks aren't. There's so much. Look at JP Morgan just got whacked with $1 billion fine, 900 and something billion dollars, billion whacked, you know, from something that they did, you know. And so then you get into this digital asset space, you know. But you know, Ken, like in this article, he's saying, you know, at the end, you know, this is the problem with legacy. This is why it's not in the digital asset space. But yes, you know, you go to some of these centralized areas with centralized digital currency, they can shut you down. They can put a pause on your digital wise. Hey, we don't like you anymore. We don't want you trading over there, company. That's it. We just paused your money. What? You paused my money? Yeah, well, we're blocking you from moving your money anymore over there. You want to use it over here? That's fine. You want to send it over there? Not going to happen. We just paused you. That's part of the problem with a centralized digital currency. A centralized US dollar, they can't roll it out. They can't just say, hey, here it is. You know, they got to build in the privacy mechanism, the safety mechanism. You have to make sure that, you know, that people are able to use their money unfettered from, you know, government surveillance and intervention. There's all these little elements that need to be thought through. But the beginning stages right now, this blurring of lines between exchanges and banks is something I've talked about from day one. And it's probably the most critical element that nobody else is talking about. It's so vital. This smart contract bill or the digital signature bill, to me, is everything. It's everything. Because without the legal backing of that signature, even if I'm moving money, Chip, I'm going to send you $100. We need a contract. All right, so I'm going to send my contract, but I need to do it now on paper. I need to send it through DocuSign. You can sign the DocuSign and send it to me. And now we have a legally binding contract that I'm going to send you $100. But I don't want to do it that way because I want to connect it into my smart contract, Chip. I want to create reason as to why, when I send my $100, it's going to trigger something and it's going to be automatically digitally signed in our contract through my solution. But without that, then it's fragmented, I guess is a better way of looking at it. We need to get beyond the fragmentation of the economy, and that's everything. Without that, so that's the positive movement. That's a positive development. That's why so many people keep focusing in on Ripple and all these, the BTC maxis, or you look at, and David D brought this up before. There's so many hypesters in this space that are speculating. They pull up a document like, oh my God, look at this. Ripple. Look, Ripple's been mentioned. XRP, it's been mentioned like 5 times. So that means that all banks are getting ready to use the digital asset, and it's going to go up to $1,000 in value. And that's, and people are making videos like that. But that's not how it works. Do we all want to get excited? I love it. I like getting excited, but I don't, but the speculation, dude, the contract wasn't valid, Chip. I'm not sending you $100. It's not valid. We did it through the smart contract. I got the coffee though. Thanks for the coffee. No, but but that's the point, is that, when we look at it from a bigger picture, and that's why all of us are here looking at it and trying to understand it and identify it and figure this out, because everything's new to this space right now. That's the excitement of it to me. I love it. We all know that investing in the space is speculative. Can it all go to zero? I got to believe it can, but will it? I'm going to speculate that it's not. That's my speculation, and I believe that a lot of others are speculating the exact same thing, that the space isn't going to zero. What is up, Phoenix Starborn, all the way from Australia? But that's why it's so important to look at all of the different aspects. Again, Bitcoin, what's it at? Like 11,000 and change right now. Ethereum, $360 and change. XRP, 25 cents. Stable. There's stability. If let's say XRP goes to 50 cents, are people going to be happy? There's going to be some happy people out there. Overall, if we look, you got to look, we look at the market as a whole. Again, we're early on. What's going to make things move? Why is Bitcoin moving? It's all speculation. I mean, is there full utility of the Bitcoin that's pushing it up? This is the other point. I was going to bring this up. I have it planned for another video. But Square, what was the other company? Another CEO invested $450 million in Bitcoin. Square, $50 million in Bitcoin. How many CEOs are investing in Bitcoin? Why are they doing it? Because it goes to their bottom line. It's going to, they're speculating that Bitcoin, even if it doubles, even if it goes from 11,000 to 15,000, think about how much money they just made for their bottom line to prop up their company, especially a company like Square in the financial space. Imagine it doubles. Now they're 50 million, 100 million. Imagine that other company, I don't know, I can't think of it, $450 million. Boom, it doubles. It goes up to 20,000. He's now at $1 billion. $1 billion at the base of their company. Talk about longevity, building in that base for their company. There's so much discussion over BTC that BTC is going to, and this goes back to MicroStrategies. That's what it was, Brady. Yeah. So, Sir John, what is up? So all of these elements, we have to look at this stuff, and you start looking around, you start seeing, here's another one. Oh, and it's going to go into a video I'm making. So we'll pre talk about it. But through the initiative in this blockchain space, they put money together. They're donating $50 in Bitcoin to every congressional representative in the United States. $50. Not a lot, but it's going in Bitcoin. It's not going through BitGo that's now coming in US currency. They're giving them a wallet, sending them $50 in Bitcoin. So everybody in Congress, Senate, House can experience Bitcoin. That's important. Right now, all of them, from Maxine Waters, who calls it Bitcom, who doesn't even know what a Facebook is, to all those other people, that are involved, they've all now have exposure, firsthand exposure to Bitcoin. They need to see it. They need to experience it. That's what's happening. That's why all of these things, again, to DNI are incremental. They have to happen. They have to come together. They have to work together. It's not going to happen overnight. Now as the space matures and progresses, have we seen development? Hey, guess what? If you look at, where XRP was as an example, growth, can it go back down to zero? Man, again, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. The whole market's green right now. Bitcoin's at 11,326. It used to be 0.00 whatever. If you look at the historical data on, let's go back to all time. So if you look at XRP, all time data statistics on XRP as an example, we don't even have to go. I've done this project a few times on my own and on video, year over year over year. August 4th, 2013. Now, there's someone who bought in at $1, $2, $3. Is this significant to them as the overall? People are holding the bag at a little bit of a higher value now that it's sitting at 25 cents. But August 4th, 2013, XRP 0.005, 0.005 with a market cap of $45 million, 0.0058 to be exact, 874. So over the years, 2013 to present, you can figure it out, 25 cents. You can look at the growth, and it grew year over year over year. By the end of the year, by the beginning of 2014, it was sitting at 2 cents, almost 3 cents, 1 year, right? Growth. And it's moved forward since then, 2014, 2015, 2000, whatever. You get the idea. Now it's sitting back at 25 cents. It's got stability year over year over year. Since its inception, it's grown a lot. It's grown tremendously. Same thing with Bitcoin. It's grown tremendously. Can you look back at history and say it's definitely going to do that FOMO, like everything else FOMO'd? I don't know. But is it going anywhere? I don't know. 7 years it's been around, and it's growing incrementally. It's growing. It's created its base. It didn't go Wi-Fi that went like this, went from this to that on the other side. These like Bitcoin and everything else took 7, 8 years to incrementally grow and grow and grow. And it kept going up steadily, with little dips and everything. Healthy growth as they're developing it. So, it's crazy. I mean, it's really, really crazy, as we look at things like that. So that's from my perspective. I look at it, I'm like, this is a good speculation. It's at 25 cents. If you got in at 3, so then you dollar cost average, you bought in at 25, averages out what your buy point was, as your investment, like with any other investment, the trajectory probably looks good. If it goes up to, if you buy in at 25 cents now and it goes up to 50 cents, you double your money. I mean, that's a good investment. I mean, it's not bad, so you look at it, but the thing is that there's a lot of things that have to happen, in order for all of these, elements to build on top of each other, because the digital asset XRP is not reflective of what's going on with Ripple. It doesn't matter. Ripple can make $1 million or it can lose $1 million. XRP is 25 cents. That's a good thing. That means that the digital asset is stable. But as you see more utility on the XRP ledger, as you see more utility through ODL, as you see more utility through other groups, through RippleX, that's their initiative to actually use the XRP token, you start seeing growth and development. A lot of it's stifled again until we see regulatory clarity. And I think Chip said, November 4th on, where we have a better chance of potentially seeing some changes. Look at Crypto Patient over here. Says, I think Ripple will buy up a ton of Spark and they'll loan out FXRP. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, especially in the smart contract world. Once we start getting some regulation and get some amendments to some of the bills. What is up, SB? Good morning. So, I mean, there's so much to it. Holy cow! I just saw the time here. You guys are awesome. We're sitting here conversing early morning on a Saturday, mid-afternoon, evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. It could be 9 o'clock at night. It could be mid-afternoon. It could be 6:30 a.m. if you're on the West Coast over here. But yeah, I mean, this is really exciting, right? I mean, there's a lot. We can go on. I can go on and on and on and keep talking about this stuff. But those are really, I think, some of the more critical elements, that we have to look at. So I don't know if you guys have any feedback. Let's see here. WB. I mean, the dollar is going down while cryptocurrencies priced in dollars are going up. I'd rather have up. Yeah, up would be good. Oh, here we go. See? Look at that. 11:30 p.m. over there in Australia. And then 3:30 p.m. over in Sir John, I forget what country you're in. Georgia, somewhere over there. Somewhere in that general region. I forget exactly. I don't know. I can't remember it. So, but anyhow, so it's great. It's really impressive. That's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. It's an hour and a half. I'm just trying to sit back and wait for that to hit a total hour 30. 2:30. Oh, Croatia. That's right. Croatia. Very close. So 2:30 over in London. Lots happening in each one of these countries in London. There was something that just happened over in Estonia. They just passed, something just happened. Estonia was rolling out, I don't know, what was it, like a year ago? Estonia was doing the e-citizenship. And so, it was funny. I went through and navigate. They were doing the e-citizenship in order to help facilitate the movement of financials in Estonia. And there was a lot. I mean, this has been going on for a while. It's called e-Estonia, the blockchain, the digital society. This goes back a little bit, but I'm trying to think. Something recently just came out, but this is interesting. Estonia was the first nation state in the world to deploy blockchain technology and production systems in 2012 with a succession registry kept by the Ministry of Justice. Interesting, right? Estonia was kind of like on the forefront. So there's stuff that's happened that there's so much stuff that's happened we've already forgotten about, some of the important elements that came to the stage, over the past years. When we look at something like that and we talk about the US is moving slow, well, hey, the whole world is moving slow with regards to Estonia, that was moving. They wanted to move everything into the digital space. But there's a lot of hurdles. Again, just as a final cap, my opinion on all of this is that it's positive, that we don't jump into something so quickly, that it kind of goes, and we see the development. So this is good. Yeah, Sir John, Estonia is the country for new tech in Europe. It's amazing. A buddy of mine lives over there. He was from Turkey. I forget where his wife was from. Anyhow, so they moved to Estonia. He was living over in the US for a while. I used to do some work with him over in Turkey. And then he moved to Estonia. And I keep threatening him that we're going to go and visit, because the scenery, countryside in Estonia looks amazing. But Estonia, as far as like a blockchain hub, is amazing. I mean, it's unreal. Look at this. working up to DNI stamina. I know, an hour and a half. So like all this stuff is in my brain. Estonia pursuing its CBDC and sandbox. Yep, that's huge. Look at this. You can get e-citizenship and run a company there without have to step on the coil of the country, on the soil. Yep. You don't even have to be in. See that, Chip? Make a note, Chip. Make a note. E-citizenship in Estonia. Make a note of that. Huh. Yeah. So there you go, right there. There's an article about it. So anyhow, you guys are awesome. This is a great tomorrow night. How did I forget? Tomorrow night on the chain. See if I have any stamina left tomorrow night. We are going to be doing a live stream. Normally we premiere, which is awesome. We always record like Saturday morning or Sunday morning. We record and then we get to sit back and enjoy, Chip and I, and chat with everybody. But tomorrow night, 8 p.m., we're doing a live stream and we're bringing in Malpass. James Malpass is going to be joining us tomorrow night on a live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the chain. And that's going to be awesome because there's going to be 3 of us taking questions from the chat, having a conversation. It's going to be fantastic. So remember, we do these streams every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the HODL Review. Every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. we do the roundtable. We always have different guests on. Sometimes we sneak in a community member. Other times we sneak in a CEO of a company. So we've had so many great CEOs on the roundtable. If there's anybody new here that you haven't been on with us before, hit that subscribe button, because you could go back, scroll back through, and you can see all the CEOs that we've interviewed. Like, we did the CEO of Cinnamon. We spent time with Alex Mashinsky, 3 videos with him on Celsius. We've done the library platform, the guys from Contentos. We had Binance US. We had Bitru. We had so many people that have joined us on this platform. If you guys know any CEOs in the space and you want to light a fire under their ass and say, hey, you guys got to get on the chain and have a conversation, send them over to us and we'll bring them on. So unfortunately, David D, I know we can't get you on Sunday evenings, but we'll look forward to seeing you on the rebroadcast, on the comments. So anyhow, oh yeah, Sir John is always with us, 3 a.m. in the morning. Shout out to the. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm cutting this off. I'm not going to dive into DNI territory any longer, but appreciate all of you guys. You guys are awesome. This was a great learning moment for me, going through all of this information. I'm sure it was for you guys as well. Great comments, great feedback, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.